been spending a lot of time recently thinking about place, not in the obvious sense and not geography, not landscape, though those matter to me too. I mean place in a deeper sense, the kind of place that calls something out of you, that addresses you, that leaves you changed in ways you didn't anticipate and can't entirely explain. Most of my philosophical work circles around that question, what it means to genuinely encounter the world rather than simply pass through it. And I keep returning to it because I think it's one of the questions that matters most right now, perhaps more than we realise. Because here I am, composing, researching, thinking, and doing it, like almost everyone, through this incredible technology. And I find myself asking whether the internet is a place at all. In any sense that counts. We speak as though it is. We talk about online spaces, digital communities, virtual worlds. The language of place is everywhere. And we use it so naturally, so unthinkingly, that the question barely surfaces. But I want to slow that down, because I think the assumption buried in our language that the internet is a place we genuinely inhabit may be one of the more consequential mistakes of our time. So that's what this video is about. It's an attempt to think carefully about what a place actually is, what it requires, what it does, what it makes possible, and then to ask honestly whether the digital world meets that threshold. I suspect the answer will unsettle us a little. It unsettled me. The French anthropologist Marc Augé made a distinction that has always stayed with me. He wrote about what he called non-places, the spaces of supermodernity, airports, motorways, supermarkets, hotel corridors. These are spaces you pass through rather than inhabit. They are defined by anonymity, by transaction, by the absence of what he called relational or historical identity. A non-place doesn't address you, it processes you. Think about the difference between a village square, where you are known, where the stones carry history, where encounters are unrepeatable, and an airport departure lounge. The lounge could be anywhere, you could be anyone, and crucially, it doesn't care. It has no memory of you and you will leave no mark on it. Now, where does the internet sit on that spectrum? I want to suggest that it's not merely a non-place, it's the perfection of the non-place. Augé couldn't have imagined it when he wrote in the early 90s, but the internet as a transit zone of infinite scale, a space of pure passage, pure transaction, in which you are simultaneously everywhere and nowhere, identified, tracked, profiled, and yet, in the deepest sense, utterly unknown. But perhaps the language of place and non-place still doesn't get to the heart of it, because it remains too geographical, too focused on whether a space has social or historical character. I want to go deeper, and for that I want to turn to the object-oriented ontologists, particularly Graham Harman, and a deceptively simple idea that real objects always withdraw. What does that mean? It means that no encounter with a thing ever exhausts the thing itself. There is always a remainder, always something that holds back, that resists full possession, that exceeds what you can grasp. Think of the cathedral. You can measure its stones, analyse its proportions, photograph every inch of it, and still it exceeds you. It exceeds your documentation. It exceeds your experience of it. There's something about a cathedral that's never fully available, that withholds even as it shows. That is its depth. That is what makes it genuinely other. This withdrawal isn't a deficiency. It is precisely what makes genuine encounter possible. You can return to the cathedral and find something you missed. It has more to give. It is, in this sense, inexhaustible. Now ask the same question of the internet. Does it withdraw? Here is what I think is the crucial difference. The internet is engineered against withdrawal. Its entire architecture is organised around maximum availability. Everything's surfaced, searchable, retrievable, accessible. The dream of the internet, its founding logic, is the elimination of the resistant remainder, to make everything fully present, fully known. And in doing so, it removes the very condition of genuine encounter. At this point, I want to bring in a philosopher who doesn't often appear in these conversations, the Japanese thinker Kitaro Nishida, and his concept of basho, usually translated as place. For Nishida, place is not primarily geographical. It is the field in which things come to be what they are, the matrix of encounter, of relation, of becoming. And crucially for Nishida, consciousness itself is a kind of place, not a thing located in space, but a field in which the world discloses itself. What this does is dissolve the simple opposition between external geography and internal consciousness, which is exactly the opposition that most discussions of digital space rely on. Is the internet a place or a state of mind? But if consciousness is already a kind of place, if the interior and exterior were never simply opposed, then that question rests on a false premise. The interesting question is not whether the internet is out there or in here. The interesting question is whether the internet functions as genuine basho, as a field in which real encounter, real relation, real becoming can occur. And here, I think the answer should begin to trouble us. In my own work, I use the term address for the structure of genuine encounter. To be addressed is to have something come at you from outside yourself, something that insists on you, that calls something forth in you, that you didn't put there and cannot fully control. The moorland addresses me, the empty church addresses me, the poem, the painting, the face of another person, these address me, and in being addressed I am opened, called towards something I was not before. This is what I mean by disclosure, not merely revelation, the making visible of something hidden, but a kind of encounter in which the world shows itself as more than I had anticipated, more than I can contain, more than I can exhaust. Now, does the internet disclose? It appears to. It has the grammar of disclosure, the making visible of what was hidden. You search and things appear you didn't know. The feeling of discovery is real, but I want to suggest that what the internet primarily does is not disclose. It reflects, and reflects indiscriminately. It returns to you, amplified, organised, curated, what you already are. Your searches, your patterns, your preferences, your tribe, your fears. The algorithms are finely tuned, not to challenge you, but to confirm you. Not to address you from outside, but to mirror you back to yourself with increasing precision. And a mirror, however elaborate, cannot address you. A mirror has no interiority to address from. There's no withdrawal in a mirror, because there's nothing to withhold. This is why I think the cathedral works as a genuine basho, and the internet does not. The cathedral has a depth you cannot reach. The internet is, by design, all surface. And this matters if you believe, as I do, that the self is not a finished thing but an event in process, that we are always in the becoming, that who we are is not given in advance but disclosed through genuine encounter with what is genuinely other. Because if that's right, then a world increasingly dominated by reflection, by the mirror rather than the address, isn't merely culturally impoverishing, it's ontologically stunting. What we seek, perhaps what we have always sought, is genuine otherness, something that exceeds us, something that cannot be reduced to the echo of our own voice. And I wonder whether one of the deep unspoken distresses of our digital moment is precisely the felt absence of that, the creeping suspicion that for all its noise and stimulation, the internet is not giving us what we actually need. But that question, the question of otherness, and what it truly requires, is one I want to return to in a future conversation. The question we might need to ask ourselves, as individuals, as a culture, is this: what kind of world are we building when we increasingly mistake our own reflection for reality? And what does that world make of us?